What's up, everybody? Welcome to General Hospital MV, my GH after show. Let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is Ava and Nicholas finally coming out of the shadows to gather Julian's things from Charlie's pub. I know a lot of people are wondering what happens to Charlie's pub now, but I'm pretty sure that Cyrus already obtained it. I mean, he's not going to try to kill Brad and Ryan for Julian without some reassurance, right? Alexis showed up drunk because she saw that the lights were on and she was hoping that maybe, just maybe, Julian was there. And even though she was drunk, she clearly realized that Ava and Nicholas were falling in love with each other, and she calls them out and compares the relationship to her relationship with Julian. I know that Julexis had a really big fan base. Even I was a really big fan of theirs in the beginning, but I couldn't personally get past the fact that not only did he frame her for his crimes, but then he fantasized about killing her, and then he held a knife to her throat. Not even the piss poor Olivia Jerome rewrite could fix that for me. I also think that if Alexis had gone back to Julian, it would be such an insult to the strength of the character as well, so it just wouldn't have sat right with me if they ever got back together, so I'm relieved that they can't ever happen again. I mean, all the things that Julian had put Alexis through brought her down this line to the point where she became an alcoholic. And yes, she did kick the habit for a while and now she's back into it, but she wouldn't have gone down that road had he not put her through so many traumatic things. So it's like, I don't know how Julexis fans could justify them still being back together even after all of that, you know? I know that it's very possible that there are Julexis fans that watch my show, and I'm wondering what helped you guys get past all of that garbage to justify continuing to ship those characters. Anyway, Alexis's comparison of her and Julian versus Nicholas and Ava definitely hit Ava's nerve a little bit, but personally I feel like Nicholas and Ava are very different from Julexis in the sense that both of them are really freaking terrible people. They deserve each other and no one else deserves them. So I feel like this morbid couple is perfect together. That's why. Later on, Laura shows up to Charlie's pub to tell Nicholas of her newfound siblings, and that puts them into shock. But the conversation was cut short because Kevin calls Laura and says that she, Ava, and Nicholas need to get to the hospital really fast. It turns out that Ryan has locked-in syndrome. Essentially what that means is that Ryan is pretty much paralyzed all the way through, but he can still think, he can still hear, and he can still move his eyes. That's about it, and Ava decides to test the theory by digging her nails into his arm to the point of making him bleed, and he didn't react at all. The only thing is, when they showed Ryan leaving the hospital, he had a little bit of a smirk on his face, so he might not be completely down for the count yet. Dude has 9 lives, and need I remind you that he literally severed his hand, so I'm sure nails to his arm is a cakewalk compared to that. Alright, let's talk about the drama surrounding Peter August. Now, Maxie is starting to realize that while a double wedding with Finn and Anna looked really good on paper, it might not transfer over so well in real life, mainly because of the guest list. Robert Scorpio would obviously be going a little bit more for Finn and Anna than Maxie and Peter, even though he does say that he loves Maxie like his own daughter. And he even puts Peter on notice saying that, just reminding him, you know, so if anything happens, you're a dead man. But he says it in a nice way. For Robert, anyway. Ooh, speaking of Robert, if you guys didn't catch it, on Wednesday I reacted to some really cool Robert Scorpio scenes in honor of his 40-year anniversary with the show. So if you guys didn't catch that on Wednesday, check it out in the description below. 2 more people that are on the guest list include Franco and Elizabeth, and that doesn't sit right with Maxie either, given her history with Elizabeth, and also the fact that she slept with Franco and he terrorized half her friends and family, so that wasn't really sitting right with her either. Franco and Elizabeth see Peter as their big hero though, since he saved Franco's life from the assassins that were trying to kill him. If you guys didn't know, Peter was the one that actually tried to assassinate Franco, and Franco decides to share with Peter that his voice is in his head, and that it could be some leftover memories from Drew, and Peter goes into full-on panic mode. Dude is in full-on panic mode. He's trying to call anyone that had to do with the memory transfer that's still alive at this point, trying to get some answers to no avail, and then he takes out his anger on Sam a little bit. Dante notices Sam and Peter's interaction, and Sam notices Dante watching Peter, so she goes up to him and they kind of make a deal of such of kind of letting each other know anything that they find out about Peter because they think they can be beneficial to each other. After that, Dante and Sam have a drink together and reminisce about good times with Sonny. Are they trying to put Dante and Sam together? Because I don't think I ship it, and I swear it's not my bias of being a J-Sam fan. Like, I actually really loved Sam and Lucky together. probably almost as much as I loved J-Sam, so I'm down for both of them to try new couples. But I think the original Lante fan in me is still holding out for hope that Julie Berman comes back as Lulu so that they can get back together, because I loved the OG Lante. But also, I just genuinely don't see the chemistry between them as well. So I'm just like, I'm down for them as friends, but as lovers, Let me know if you guys ship Dante and Sam in the comments below. Speaking of Dante, he finds out from Dr. Liesl and Britt that Dr. Kirk is dead and that she would be taking over for Dr. Kirk, and he wasn't so receptive to her at first until she clicks a pen. No? Okay, I tried. Anna is still very suspicious of Dante's behavior. She's convinced that the WSB released him for a different reason, and she's trying to figure it out, but hopefully she doesn't, because I need Peter August to go down. Let's go back to talking about Dr. Liesl and Britt though. Now, she bumped into Britt, and the two of them had a good reunion. Obviously, at first, Britt was like, you're clearly in hiding, because Liesl's still wearing that awful blonde wig. Liesl does actually let Britt know that Peter is the one that framed her and that she's trying to find enough evidence to bring him down. And thankfully, Britt believes her. And once that awkwardness had set aside, they have this lovely reunion where they're hugging each other and Britt's telling her she looks good. I love their relationship. They're just so fun to watch. I know that they have a history of being really gray characters for very dark reasons, but I happen to adore them. I love their scenes together. Britt even mentioned Cyrus to her, and Liesl went into full mama bear mode, ready to protect her, but Britt, being Britt, was like, no, I got this, don't worry about it. Love them. Alright, let's talk about Jordan and how she's handling the consequences of her own actions. Portia shows up to give Jordan a verbal beating and to give her a bit of a lesson on how marriages can be affected by people who put their job over their marriage first, because obviously Portia is talking from experience, and I guess Jordan might have taken it to heart. I like that Portia, while fully acknowledging that she can't stand her right now, wouldn't wish her marital problems on anyone else, and that she's actually just trying to give Jordan some good advice. Once Portia leaves, Cyrus shows up and informs Jordan that Jason has kidnapped Florence, and Jordan could not care less. The gloves were off and I was living for it. Cyrus is there trying to threaten her, and Jordan's like, I literally have nothing left. I've lost my husband and my child. You can suck it and find your mummy for yourself. I was just like, yes, Jordan. See, when the writers give her some balls, Jordan can be a pretty badass character. Keep this side to her. I loved it. Cyrus was shaking in his boots, realizing that he doesn't have anyone powerful left to do his bidding. Not yet anyway, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Portia goes down to visit Taggart in his jail cell, and he is pretty down on his luck. She says that he needs to fight to get out of jail so that he can be there for his daughter, but he's like, I did commit those crimes. I did falsify evidence to bring Cyrus down, and Portia's just giving him a pep talk saying, well, you need to bring him down legally so that he can go to jail and you can be free. I'll be honest, I'm not really feeling this recast. I know he's temporary because Rael wasn't available, but I need OG Taggart back to finish the story. Later, Jordan visits him in his jail cell and informs him that Sonny may have died in an accident. Obviously, he's not very thrilled about that, because if he can't take him down illegally, he was relying on Sonny to take him down illegally by killing him. Let's quickly talk about Jason and Carly for a minute. Jason is livid with Carly when he learns that Carly kidnapped Florence. Cyrus had showed up there, and obviously Cyrus thinks that it was Jason. And Jason tells Carly later that the only way that they are going to continue this charade is if Jason takes full responsibility and acts like it was his idea to kidnap Florence, and Carly reluctantly agrees. Now, Laura had found out from Cyrus that Jason kidnapped Florence, and she goes over there to confront Carly, but Carly isn't there, so she confronts Jason, and of course Jason stonewalls her. Even Laura knows that this is completely out of character for Jason and is confused by these actions, but she goes back to Cyrus and tells him that if Jason does in fact have Florence, she'll be fine, but that's obviously not enough for Cyrus. He demands that Laura find Florence and reminds her that he knows what she is capable of when her back is against the wall and she's motivated enough, which is unfortunate because then Lesley freaking Weber shows up when Cyrus is grabbing Laura, and she goes into pure mama bear mode, and right away I was like, oh great, Cyrus is totally going to kidnap Lesley. We'll get into why I think that in a little bit, but first I want to talk about these scenes. Now, Lesley realizes pretty quickly that this is the infamous Cyrus Renault, the man that put her granddaughter in a permanent facility care home. And Cyrus, he takes it upon himself to call Lesley a tramp, and Lesley took it upon herself to own it. I was like, I don't think that Lesley was a tramp. I mean, from what I know about the character, she was married twice, I think, and she never cheated on either husband, and then she spent decades without a lover, that we know of anyway, and then she got married recently to that Italian hunk that did Laura and Kevin's wedding. I think that Lesley was just refusing to give Cyrus that kind of power over her. I mean, even when he was saying things like, "You've conquered hundreds of men," she just chuckled and said, "I should be so lucky." She was, however, very devastated to learn that Cyrus was Laura's half-brother with Gordon Gray as Cyrus's father, and she had a complete meltdown and was devastated, saying, "The decisions I made when I was that young are still giving us such great sadness today." And it just made me appreciate how great it is that the writers are taking a story from like 45 years ago and utilizing it in modern day GH so brilliantly. Again, I give you kudos, GH. Now, the reason why I think that Cyrus will kidnap Lesley is because A, she's an easy target, B, this would definitely motivate Laura to find Florence a lot faster, and C, because he's already established that he has no use for Lesley and can't stand her, that Laura will know that he has no reason to treat her right while he's kidnapping her. Lesley would be Cyrus's perfect hostage, and Laura could go to Jason and say, "Now he's kidnapped my mother, you need to fix this." But again, that's just a theory, so let me know in the comments below if you think I'm right or if you have another theory. Now, going back to Jason for a second, he had paid Jordan a visit at the PCPD, and while he was there, she received a trinket of Sonny's, which makes Jason actually think that Sonny is dead, and he goes back to Carly to give her the devastating news, and Carly just breaks down and cries. Great performance from Laura Wright, by the way. And right after that, thankfully, we see a scene of Sonny laying in the snow, so at least they didn't drag it out any longer than that. However, it's been like a few weeks for us. I'm assuming maybe it's just a couple of days in Port Charles time, but like, Sonny's still laying in the snow. He could be dead. Like, it's freaking cold. It's winter, so I don't know how they're gonna explain how he survives this. But we all know he will. Now, in between all this drama, we got some Chillo scenes and we got some Michael and Sasha scenes. I don't remember Michael and Sasha's pet name, but anyway, Chase and Willow go to have dinner at the Metro Court, and they have some small talk, but Willow kind of addresses that they need to address the elephant in the room, and Chase says that he just wants to prove that he is still the same man that she loved, and she goes to kiss him, but then she realizes, I'm a married woman, I need to go, and she just bails. Now, Sasha, she was at the Corinthos house because she went to apologize to Carly for being so angry at her when Carly was just trying to look out for her while she was on drugs, and Carly says no apology necessary. That's when Michael showed up, and the two of them talk about how Sonny is missing and that it's a search and recovery effort now instead of search and rescue. Michael is obviously devastated, and Sasha offers to walk with him to get some fresh air, the walk that they used to take to the boathouse, and I'm like, please have sex in that boathouse so that Willow can just go back to Chase and all will be right in the world again. Now, the only other thing worth noting this week is that Nina told Valentine that Jack supports her decision to stop searching for her child, and Valentine sees that as Jack's having something to hide, and he's not wrong. I know that this will be the thing that puts Nina back into Valentine's arms, and I'm just not here for it. Not at all. Valentine actually goes to Martin and asks him to try and help him figure out what Jax is hiding, but obviously Martin is a little bit preoccupied with the fact that his mother's been kidnapped, and while he kind of freaks out at Valentine, Valentine shuts him up and says, hey, I was just going to say, let me help you. And Martin's like, oh, okay, so the search is on for Florence. Who will find her is anyone's guess. Let me know who you think will find Florence first in the comments below. Anyway, that wraps up GH Envy this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned on Wednesday where I will just be reacting to some classic Lesley Weber scenes since she's back on the show. I'm going to do my best to find the earliest Lesley Weber scenes I can find that hopefully isn't potato quality for us to enjoy together. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I always appreciate when you guys are in the comments below, or if you're in the live chat chatting with me when the video premieres. It's always very much appreciated. If you like this video, give it a big old thumbs up, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you guys this Wednesday. Peace out. Congratulations.